This
This program is brought to you by the Kentucky Small Business Development Center in Louisville. We provide the professional expertise, tools, and information necessary to help you make sound business decisions. Thank you to the U.S. Small Business Administration for co-sponsoring our program and to our host organization, the University of Kentucky. Contact us at 502-625-0123 to get started.
Hi, welcome. Happy Tuesday. Thanks for joining us for another Toolkit Tuesday. I am Dave Becker. I'm the director here at the Louisville Small Business Development Center. We are, as you heard, one of 13 centers across the state of Kentucky. So thanks for joining us today. And before we get started, just to make sure everything's working well, you can see and hear us well. Look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a toolbar. There will be a chat feature there. If you don't see the toolbar, just take your cursor and hover down on the bottom there. It should pop up and just click on that chat. And if you wouldn't mind, just let me know you can hear okay. Tell us your name and where you're joining us from. It's always fun to hear and see where everybody's joining from today. So we'll wait just a second and see who joins us today. Here's Greg from Louisville. Jonathan Luntz, Lawrenceburg. Hello. Tracy, hi Tracy. We've got a few folks joining in today, quite a few. So we'll wait just a second while everybody gets situated and get in here. So, hey Anthony. Again, as we go through our presentation, if you have any questions or comments, or you just put them in the chat, I'll be keeping an eye on that, and then I'll shoot them out to our guests today. One of the most important things on any business owner's mind is, how do I market my business, or how can I take advantage of different marketing opportunities to get ahead? And we all know that the big companies, the big dogs, are always using different types of marketing strategies, especially with like sponsorships and influencers. And most small business owners seem to think that's out of their reach, but really it's not. And we've got two great guests today from the University of Louisville, Zach McKay and Shana Smith, that's going to talk to us about how you can leverage the university's athletic program to do some marketing and really maybe make a difference in the community, and also a difference in the lives of some student athletes as well. So Zach and Shana, want to join us?
Dave, thanks for having us. How are you doing?
Good. Hey, Shayna.
Hi, how's everyone doing today?
So, yeah, just, this is something that was really new to me. I didn't know, I knew there was some laws changing and things and, for the better, I think. And so I was really happy to see you guys had really put together a great program. So we thought that we would share this with the folks out there. So I was going to hand it off to you guys. Let's just jump right in, and I'll be watching the chat. So if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat and we will get right to them. So
Awesome. Well, hi, everyone. I'm Shayna Smith. So I work on the influencer side of things. Influencer, which is under the Teamworks umbrella. We partner with Louisville for NIL and then also content branding and then also communication. There's quite a few companies under the Teamworks umbrella, but like I said, I'm mainly on the influencer side. So I've been at Teamworks for about 4 years now. Prior to joining Teamworks, I served as a captain in the Air Force, and that's kind of where my love for training comes in, and that's ultimately what I do here. Again, I do all the training for the influencer side of things. I train on the content side, the compliance side, and then also the local and global exchange side, which is what we're going to kind of hit on here today. I started out on the engineering side back when it was only Teamworks. And then obviously as the company has grown, I decided to move into the manager of customer support. But I like being people facing. I love meeting people and I love helping athletes. So about 1.5 years ago, I switched over to the product success side. So I'm really excited to be working with you all today and to get you all up and running on the CARDS NIL Exchange. So even after today's presentation, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to shoot me an email. I do live locally. I've just moved to Louisville almost a year now. June 9th will make 1 year. So, I'm more than happy to come out, train you, hop on a Zoom call, whatever it is. So definitely, take advantage of having someone right here in town. So I'm now going to pass it over to Zach.
So just some introduction from me as well. I'm Zach McKay. My title is Director of NIL Services and Engagement here for University of Louisville. So I've been in this role now just over a year. As we all understand it and navigate NIL, that's obviously a hot topic here in college athletics for the past ongoing 2 years. But my role predominantly here at U of L is to be an on-campus resource to our 600 plus student athletes and 23 teams here. As our student athletes navigate NIL, we want to make sure that they're being educated and given the resources to be successful in this space. As we know, it's ever evolving and it's new and it deals with contracts and money and there's a lot of layers to it. So we want them to understand that they don't have to go at it alone, but they do have resources here at U of L, like myself, and a number of partnerships that we have to making sure that they're understanding things that they're getting themselves into, and as well as on the external side too of doing things like this to making sure that Shayna and I are getting out in the community to educate different businesses and brands to understand that obviously NIL, like I said, it's a hot topic, but it's so much more than the headlines that you may see in the news or social media, that this can be at a really small level, and any partnership that you do with an athlete is beneficial to them now and into the future as it helps them grow and develop life skills. But we'll touch on a lot more of those things throughout the presentation. But now I'll turn it back over to Shane as she kind of takes you through a timeline of how we got to where we are today.
All right, so a lot of us kind of know how NIL started. August of 2017 is when Influencer was founded. And again, it was founded to help student athletes with, access and content. So before, athletes were being text, photos or videos from, particular like sporting events. Maybe there was a Google Drive that they all had to go search through their photos. Well, in August of 2017, our founder was like, no, there needs to be an easier way for these student athletes to get access to their content, and also for the media relations team to be able to get that content to the student athletes. And so Influencer was founded in August of 2017. Now, skip to September of 2019, California was the first state that allowed student athletes to start being paid for NIL, so their name, image, and likeness. And then followed by that was going to be Florida. In June of 2021, that's when the Austin versus the NCAA Supreme Court decision was made. And then, of course, in July of 2021, this new world that we live in of NIL began. As soon as that happened, influencer was like, wait a minute, there has to be something to bridge that gap. Like, we're already helping student athletes build their brand, get that content, but now there needs to be a place where businesses and compliance and student athletes kind of have that one-stop shop to be able to do all of that in one place instead of having so many different platforms. So the winter of 2022 is when Influencer launched the local exchange, and we have just been constantly growing and evolving ever since then. So, you know, one thing I will say, like I said, when I first started at Teamworks, it was only Teamworks, and now there are 9 companies under the Teamworks umbrella. If there's ever feedback that you all have, like once you do get registered, definitely let us know. Our engineering team, they're always working to improve the product, trying to make it as easy as possible, not only for student athletes, but for the staff, for compliance, and then you all as the business. So next, we are going to go into Louisville's new NIL program, or their updated NIL program. Pass it back to Zach.
So what NIL looks like for us here at U of L. So Elevate is our NIL program. So our NIL program holistically is under 3 pillars. So earn, enhance, and educate. And what those things mean is earn, obviously, we want our student athletes to maximize their earning opportunities. Enhance, we want them to leverage the U of L brand to grow their following, their social media, their personal brand now and into the future. And then obviously educate. So like I said earlier, we want to be able to provide them with life skills so that they're successful through NIL. So throughout the course of a semester, we're putting different programming in front of them, from financial literacy to resume building to understanding contracts, to just a number of different things that we think will help them navigate the NIL space, but also navigate their life after sport. Because for many of them, that they may not be able to play professionally, but we want them to have the life skills now that they can use now and long into the future. So as you see now on the slide here in front of you, right now, just for this presentation today, we'll talk mainly about the earn category of our program. So student athletes at U of L really have 4 main pillars of ways to earn NIL opportunities. One is Connect, the CARDS NIL Exchange, which we'll touch on more with our partnership with Influencer, and Shayna will kind of walk you through the mechanisms behind that. But just as a brief overview, so the NIL Exchange is a registration platform that you as a business can register, and then you're exposed to all 600 plus student athletes, where you can filter them off of sport, you can filter them off of their bios or hometowns, or a number of different categories that you can identify student athletes who may fit your values, or things that you want to partner your brand with. And you can message them in the platform, you can initiate deals, you can pitch them ideas, and also you can pay them in all in one spot there. So Shane will kind of walk you through the mechanisms and logistics behind that as well too. There's also 502 Circle, and how the 502 Circle Collective and the NIL Exchange work cohesively is how we like to break it down. Is if you are a Cardinal fan, someone that wants to participate in NIL but doesn't really have a product or service that you want to partner with an athlete to promote, you can simply give to 502 Circle philanthropically, and that staff will then create opportunities for our student athletes with different nonprofits or what have you here in the local community and beyond. Or even if you are a business owner and you want a student athlete to promote a product or service, but you just don't know the mechanisms of putting the contract together or what task you want them to perform, 502 Circle can definitely help you, walk you through that process to achieve the goals that you want to get out of this NIL and social influencer relationship. And then through the rep program, we have a partnership with Fanatics through a name and number apparel program. So for a number of our student athletes, they have the opportunity to sell and monetize name and number merchandise through our Fanatics Go Cards team shop. So with football, volleyball, women's soccer, men's and women's basketball, baseball, and softball, those athletes have merchandise on our team shop that features Louisville branding, Cardinal Bird logo, Old English L branding, and it has their name and number on the back, and they receive royalties off of all that merchandise that's sold. So we promote that on social media, at all their home venues, and throughout our athletic events, and just trying to enhance sales for those athletes to monetize their income. And then Shop is obviously our relationship with Adidas. Every student athlete at U of L has the opportunity to be an Adidas ambassador. And what that means is they're a part of the affiliate program. What that means is they're their own salesman for Adidas. So they receive a unique URL that they can post on their social media, their IG stories, their Twitter accounts, Facebook, what have you, share with family and friends, and they'll receive commission off of sales generated through their own unique link. So we're always trying to evaluate and create opportunities to put more deals in front of them. Like I said, because our goal here is that while they're with us for a short period of time, that we're able to assist in maximizing opportunities. And then this next slide here just kind of goes through some of the common ways that student athletes are working with different businesses, and just more of the general ways, the general deals that we see disclosed to us. So obviously brand ambassador is just using a student athlete to, like I said, to promote your product or service, or we see a number of student athletes that work with local restaurants, and they have a particular menu item they love, and they go in there and kind of give a food review, talk about how much they love that product and how often they eat that restaurant. Or the affiliate marketing program that I just touched on there with Adidas, where a number of student athletes will get links from maybe retail shops or different places that they can receive commission off of sales. Or if you mention their name in store, then you receive a discount and they receive a percentage off of that. So just to continue, you can use student athletes to drive traffic. Like I said, the goal with all of these is just to understand that you can use student athletes to gain an ROI from their social followings and their leverage, because we all know how passionate college sports fans are, and many student athletes followings are in those local communities. And if a student athlete promotes a certain product or a certain business, then it's very likely that their followers and those fans are going to follow their influence and use that same product, or go visit that same car dealership or that same restaurant or what have you. So we've seen a number of businesses have a real ROI on using student athletes to grow their brands. And this last slide here before I turn it back over to Shane, it just kind of goes through some general just some examples of some NIL deals across some student athletes. So top left there, you have Nyla Harris from women's basketball, who worked with Academy Sports for a back to school campaign. Just on her social account, she showed all the different products that you can buy for kids getting back to school, and extracurricular activities there with basketballs and things that you can buy there at Academy Sports. And then also Christian Knapsack from baseball there, showing, like I said, just he loves Cane's. So he actually got a partnership with Cane's restaurant here locally in Louisville. And then on around the page too, with Hersey Miller promoting personal hygiene products there at Sarah V, Elena Scott with Cross G, Carly Haynes with vinaigrette salads, and Emily Cunningham obviously with Planet Fitness. So it just kind of shows you the spectrum of what's possible with NIL, from a high level deal with a billboard with Malik or a car with Elena, but then also smaller deals with Christian Knapsack in the restaurant, or Carly Haynes Women's Golf visiting a salad shop and showing off some of their menu items there. So really want you guys to understand that NIL can be a number of different things. It can be high level deals, small deals, it can be free products. Like I said, monetization doesn't have to be money. It can be free product to student athletes to promote your brands or services. But I'll turn it back over to Shayna as we kind of go through. I just want to take you guys through like what NIL looks like for our student athletes. And then if you are interested in wanting to get involved and connect with them, this is the mechanism to do it with.
And I'm so glad that Zach hit on that. A lot of times when people think NIL, they think like, oh, this car deal, something super large. Well, a lot of the NIL deals that are coming in are those smaller deals that just start to accumulate. And so, for example, free meals. I don't know about y'all, but when I was in college, I would do anything for a free meal. I mean, that's, that I would have loved to go to my favorite restaurant every week and be able to eat for free. So, even thinking about this, just like Zach said, it doesn't have to be money. It doesn't even have to be a product. One thing I'm going to show you when I go through the app is that it could also just be informative. So for example, some of the companies that we work with, like TurboTax or, even Meta, a lot of theirs is informational. So what do all student athletes want to do? They want to become verified on social media. Well, there is a bulletin, an informational bulletin that Meta has put out for the influencer student athletes. Hey, this is how you become verified on social media. TurboTax, they have, free this, how to do your taxes. Obviously they charge for that for, normal people like me, but for like these student athletes, they're offering these free products that will help them to help educate them. So again, it does not have to be you giving them money. It could be other things. It could be you giving them your product. And then also 44% of the deals that are done are social media based. So for example, like with these athletes, they're posting this on social media because student athletes are on social media. If you ask them in a group, setting, hey, how many of you have social media, either Facebook, TikTok, all of the above, a lot of them are going to raise their hand, probably all of them. So, leveraging that, maybe it's your product or whatever it is you may offer, have them post it on their social media. And then like Zach said, they have that wide range of followings. Someone's going to go in there and they're going to reach out to you for your product because that particular student athlete said it was the best thing in the world. Louisville does such a great job with this. One of their student athletes, not pictured on here, but it goes back to the realtor one. That student athlete didn't buy a house from this particular realtor, but they have this NIL partnership, and the student athlete takes pictures with the realtor, reposts the realtor's stuff, and the realtor has told me herself, like, I've gotten so many clients just because that athlete posted me on their Insta story. We have that partnership. So, definitely taking advantage of that. And I'm just going to skip this slide. So we are the standard for NIL technology. Over 100,000 athletes, because we don't only work with student athletes. For the local exchange, of course, that is only student athletes, but we have over 100,000 athletes that are active. That means every day they're logging in, or at least once a week, they're logging into the platform. So this is definitely, like I said, the standard for NIL technology. And next, I'm going to tell you exactly what our three products are here at Influencer. So the content side. So we use artificial intelligence to tag student athletes in content. Content can either be photos or it can be videos. So it's from sporting events, or maybe, it's just a team over at a coach's house, or they're out for dinner. Again, this is the foundation of Influencer. It was founded to help student athletes get that content and help them build their brand, especially on social media. So again, Louisville has all three of the products, so their student athletes do benefit from this. Next is going to be compliance, being able to report NIL activity compliantly to the compliance office, and the compliance office having everything in one place. So, you don't have to go download another platform to have to go in and report your NIL activity. You don't have to go fill out a form. Everything is right there in one app. And then lastly is going to be the exchange. So there are two exchanges. There's a global exchange. There's a local exchange. You all will be a part of the local exchange. The global exchange are just big name companies such as Meta, TikTok, TurboTax, Atlantic Records, Campus U, ESPNW. Those are these big name companies that work across all student athletes that are in Influencer. So all of those that I just named, plus there's more, all of them span across all student athletes. You all, if you register for the CARDS NIL Exchange, you have direct access to Louisville. So that's the difference between the local and the global. And it's basically a place for you all to go in there and register. You can now facilitate deals with student athletes. You have access to messaging them. And again, I will go more into depth on each of these here shortly. So who uses the CARDS NIL Exchange? A lot of times people think that this is only for the collective, or this is only for the local car dealership. No, it is for anybody who wants to give back to student athletes. So, a lot of times, one thing, I always use this example because, it's a great one. A lot of times we'll see fans who just want to, have a student athlete come sign stuff at a birthday party. All they have to do is go in here and register as an individual. And I see that there's a question. Zach, do you mind letting me know what that question is? Thank you. Fans can go in there. It can be alumni, of course, the collective, it can be sponsors, it can be businesses. So, no person or business is too small. There's none that are too large. And what is that question that is in the chat? I just want to make sure I answer it before I move on.
The question is from one exchange, can you access UK, WKU, EKU, and all schools in state of Kentucky from one platform?
Yes, so you will be able to register as long as you register for the exchange, for that particular school's exchange, then you'll be able to log into that exchange, but you'll only be able to see like that exchange, that person's exchange when you're logged into theirs. And then, UK's when you're logged into UK's, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? It made sense.
I'll follow up in the notes too and explain it more.
Okay, perfect. I was like, it made sense in my head when I said it. But that's a really good question. So how do you register? If you're interested in going ahead and registering now, since you have someone from Influencer here that can answer any questions that you may have, take a moment and scan this, and I can actually walk you through step-by-step, answer any questions that you have. You don't have to pay to register for the CARDS NIL. You're not going to be like spam with 1,000 things, and no one's going to like force your hand to, propose a transaction. But again, if you do go ahead and register while I'm on the call and you do have questions, I'm right here and I can go ahead and answer them for you. So you just scan this QR code. It'll take you to the registration page. And I'm actually going to pause this slideshow for 1 second, and I'm going to pull up what it looks like when you register for the exchange. So apologize that I'm stopping the screen. Boom. So for those of you that did take the time to scan that QR code, I don't know if I did it too quick, but we will make sure you have access to getting in there. Whenever you get there, this is what it's going to look like. So right over here, you'll see welcome to the CARDS NIL Exchange. Down here is going to be some frequently asked questions, some key contacts down here at the bottom. This is all customizable by U of L. So as things change, because we know NIL is still fairly new and it's always changing, they'll be able to go in here and update this, maybe the policies, things of that nature. So definitely, keep looking back here if you do have any questions. All you have to do is click this request access button, and it's going to take you to this page. Now, what is the difference between the individual supporter donor versus the brand, organization, or collective? The brand, organization, or collective, that's going to be, for those businesses, you're going to have more access to that student athlete. The main difference is messaging the student athlete. So I'm going to click on the individual supporter and donor just to show you the two differences. So if it's just a fan that's like, what, I really want to work with, Zach McKay. He's my favorite basketball player. I want him to come sign something at my kid's birthday party. I'm going to click on this one because I'm an individual. Come down here and click next. And as you can see, it's not much information that it's requiring me to fill out, just pretty basic. Maybe I don't have a business. I'm literally just a fan. You'll fill this out. And then what happens on the business side of things, which I'll show you that here in a second, that person will only be able to message the student athlete if they propose a transaction. Because of course, if we let any fan come in here and register for the CARDS NIL Exchange, all the fans are going to be in here just trying to blow up their emails. And that turns into like Instagram DMs, Twitter DMs, and we don't want that. So people who are registering as individuals, they'll have limited access to that student athlete. They will be able to propose deals, but only once they propose a deal will they have access to communicate if the student athlete accepts it or has more questions and sends that person a message. Now, let's say that you are a business, a brand, organization, you're a collective. I'm going to click next. This here makes you fill out, a little bit more information, kind of make sure, okay, you're legit. You're not just like someone who's going to blow them up. Once you go in here and fill this out, it'll go to Zach for U of L. It'll go to Zach and he will approve it. Once he approves it, you all can start messaging student athletes. Maybe you want to find, you have a couple of questions you want to ask, whatever it may be, you will have a little bit more access to those student athletes. So I am going to pause for 1 second and turn it over to Zach. So here at Influencer, we have a new feature called Causes. And basically what we were realizing is that, maybe people don't want to register for a school's local exchange, but they want to give back in other ways. And they want to see those other ways to give back. within the last month, we actually just created this new feature where now schools can go in there and put other ways to give back. And as you can see here, the Cardinal Athletic Fund, is one that they have at Louisville. So I'm going to turn it back over to Zach momentarily so that he can go through and talk to you about that.
Yeah, so the Cardinal Trust under the CAF umbrella really is just our internal funding organization. So obviously NIL is independent from the university. U of L isn't a participant in the NIL activities of our student athletes. Like, we can't directly pay student athletes for NIL. So obviously we are encouraging businesses and fans and all those external constituents to get involved with NIL, but needs of the university aren't changing either. So we still, as a university, have to take care of student athletes from a academic standpoint, from summer school funding, degree completion programs, and just all the day-to-day needs of our student athletes, from nutrition and all those operational needs that we still have to fundraise for, from facility renovations and, just like I said, just all the general things that go into our operations, and that's there under CAF. So if you come to this page and you think, oh, I think I want to get involved with NIL, I would encourage you to register as a local supporter or organization. But if you're like, hey, I just want to give back to U of L and have them decide where my money goes to from an academic standpoint, with the general needs of the institution, the CAF is the way to do that.
Thank you, Zach. So lastly, I'm going to show you what it looks like once you are accepted, once you're approved for the CARDS NIL Exchange. Some schools don't require it. So if you do, register for UK and CARDS NIL and you're like, wait, I just got in at UK, it's because it's all schools, it's based off of what they want. And so for the CARDS NIL Exchange, it will be approved by Zach. I will tell you, as soon as you request it, he is really good and goes in and approves it. So you do not have to wait. And then once you're in there, this is what you're going to see. So this here just kind of shows you an overview. It's going to show you all of the athletes that are in the local exchange. If you go in there and register today, and for some reason you're like, man, like I know this person plays and they're not in here, have no fear. There are 3 athlete rollout dates coming up where we will be training student athletes on the local exchange, global exchange, and then they will appear in there. So just bear with us for the next, right up until fall begins. The reason why we're showing this to you now is because when student athletes do log in for the first time, we want them to see all of the businesses that want to work with them. It gets them excited. It gets them, motivated and wanting to, reach out and do some sort of NIL deal facilitation with you all. So if they come in and there's no content, there's no businesses in there, they're just kind of like, boo, like nobody wants to work with us. And then they kind of get discouraged. One thing that we see with student athletes is that they just don't know where to start. NIL, everybody has, we've all wanted this for so long. Anyone who's been a student athlete, this is like a dream that we've all, dreamed of for forever. But now that it's here, it was just kind of like drinking water from a fire hose. And a lot of them are like, I don't know where to begin. So here at Influencer, we know where to begin. One, it begins with content getting loaded into the accounts. That is what's going to drive those student athletes to Influencer. And I'll tell you, Louisville is probably our best customers with making sure they get content in there. They have plenty of content. Student athletes love posting content on social media to get their following up and to, build their brand. Secondly is going to be having those businesses in there. So, definitely take the time to get in there and register. And then once all the student athletes are onboarded into Influencer, you will see them all right here as I do in this test account. So when you're in here, you're probably like, okay, how is this organized? Like, it's not alphabetical order. No, it is based off of which student athlete has their profile completed the most. So one thing we talk about with student athletes is, hey, get in there and fill out your profile, because when businesses are looking to work with certain student athletes, they don't want to work with you if your NIL resume, which is what we call their profile, if your NIL resume isn't completed. Same thing with, on LinkedIn. No one's going to want to hire you for a job if you haven't filled out your resume. So we encourage them to go in there and get that profile strength between 80 and 100%, so that when you all are searching for athletes to work with, you have some sense of who they are, what they like, if they would be a great fit for whatever project it is you want them to work with you on. So as you can see here, Sean Kelly, he has his profile filled out the most. You can easily just click here, click view profile. It'll show you a little snapshot of their information, or you can click on view profile, which is going to take you to their actual influencer NIL resume. So as you see, you can learn where they're from, what school they go to, the organization they're a part of. If they're associated with multiple teams, you'll see the teams here. Any of their interests, whenever they go, and I'm going to show you from the student athlete perspective too, they can actually click things that they're interested in. And then they can go in there, fill out their bio. And we do encourage them to like put themselves out there, tell your why. Why did you choose Louisville? Why did you choose the sport? Anything that'll just show businesses and, people who may want to do deals with them, like a little personal side to them. Right down here, we, show them how to link their social media accounts. So you can click right into their Twitter, right into their Instagram. Now we've added TikTok, because TikTok is where it's at right now, apparently. I don't know. I feel old because I have no idea really how to use it besides scrolling. But you can click into these links and it'll take you directly to their personal social media pages. Also, you can see the last time they logged into Influencer. So if it's been like 5 years and you're like, okay, maybe I don't want to work with them, they haven't even logged in, they won't see it. You'll be able to see the last time they logged in. I will say that if you all do propose a transaction with the student athlete, they'll get notified twice. They'll get a in-app notification. They'll also get an email notification, just to make sure that they don't, miss the notification, essentially. You can send them a message from here, super easy. Maybe you want to learn a little bit more about Sean. You can shoot them a message, or you can come down here and propose a transaction directly from their profile. It's super easy to propose transactions. Come in here, fill out what the name of it is, the transaction type. You can choose from any of these on the drop down. The payment type, as Zach and I mentioned, it does not have to be cash. It could be a product. You can go in there and add that. The value, the date, and then also some details. Now, we've added the attachments and the task. So the attachments, a lot of times what we see here, if it is like a birthday party or you want them to come to an event, do an appearance, you can go in there and put the flyer. Or if there's a contract that you want them to agree to, you can put the contract here. Now, what I will say is they will not go and physically sign that contract unless you state like, hey, sign this and mail it, whatever it may be. But when they click accept, whenever they see this proposal, they are accepting whatever information you put in here. So this is essentially your contract with them. And if they click accept, they are agreeing to it. So just definitely keep that in mind. And then lastly, the task part, you can go in there and list out what it is you want them to do or need them to do in order for them to receive the payment or the product or whatever you all agree on. Now, of course, if you want to do something like the whole team, or if you want to do something with all the seniors, you do not have to go into each of their profiles. If I go back to browse athletes, I can either select all of the athletes. Maybe you want to do something for all Louisville student athletes. You can check that box and then come over here and click this, this little $sign. And then you can propose a transaction from right there. Or you can send them a message. This will not put them in a group chat, no worries. It'll send to them individually. Or you can add them to a list. So, the list is kind of like, especially if, you want to do a deal with seniors every other month, instead of having to go filter all the seniors each time, you can come in here and filter it one time, add a list. So maybe it's the seniors, maybe it's the captains, maybe it's the, male gymnasts, whatever your list is, you can create those lists there. Another thing I want to show you all is the filters. So again, you all will have access to Louisville, so you don't have to worry about, filtering between like schools or conferences, because it's already there. But you can come in here, and filter based off of the sport. So maybe you only want to work with, whatever it may be. Women's basketball, you can click save. And women's basketball, of course, in my test account, there's no women's basketball, sorry, y'all. But you can filter it based off of that. Another thing over here is going to be the social media. So maybe you only want to work with someone who has social media because you want your business to get out there as well. You can come in here and do it based off of, if they have a Twitter, if their follower count is above or below, whatever it may be. You can come over here and filter that as well. So I'm going to get back out of that. And then the last two is going to be the list. So again, if you did create lists, you can come in there and do it based off the list. And then personal. So again, like I was saying, the student athletes will have the ability to go in there and check off the things that they're interested in. So like Atlantic Records, whenever they come in here, they want someone who likes music or who is, into content creation. And they can come in here and filter the student athletes based off of that. I'm going to pause for 1 second because I know I just talked your head off. Are there any questions just on this view alone? And we are going to go into, the bulletins and like how you set up your payment, things of that nature. But are there any questions on how to search a student athlete? Okay, if there are any questions, definitely just throw them in the chat and Zach will stop me and I'll definitely answer those for you. Over here is going to be the initiatives. So the initiatives show up as bulletins for student athletes. Sometimes, companies don't want to have to send out a mass message to student athletes and wait to see who's interested. Maybe you just want to throw it out there and then whoever's interested, it'll let you know. So that's where the initiatives is going to come in. As you can see here, I did a bulletin. So it's called initiatives, bulletins, opportunities. There's so many different names for it, but essentially what it is you're just putting it out there for grabs. And then any student athlete at Louisville that wants it, boom, they have access to it. So for this one, my fake account, I went in there and did, hey, create and post a 30-second reel on Instagram showing you using our products. So any student athlete can go in and say, hey, I'm interested. I'll accept this offer. They'll go fulfill whatever it is. They'll tag me in it. And then boom, once I see they tag me in it, I can then go in and click that this has been fulfilled and I'll pay that student athlete. So you'll be able to see all of that here. This is also really good for you to go in and you can create a bulletin that's informational. Maybe you want to put it out there what your company is about. So, if a student athlete is interested, they can go in there and see it. You will be able to see which student athletes show interest in learning more about your company. And then from there, once you see that student athletes have, looked at that particular bulletin, you can then go filter and maybe propose a deal with them, an actual deal like, hey, I saw that, you showed interest and you showed interest in my company. Would you be interested in X, Y, and Z? So you can do all of that right here. Over here, if you click more, you can archive that particular bulletin so that it no longer is shown for the student athletes. Conversations. So you can go in and I'll show you in the settings. So for example, a lot of times car dealerships will make it where student athletes can't reach out to them because every student athlete wants a free car. You can go in there and turn off student athletes' ability to message you. You can make it where it's only you messaging student athletes and then them returning the communication there. This is what it'll look like whenever you do go into the conversation side of things. You'll be able to see conversation started, total messages sent, and total messages received. If I come over here and click into this, I can see if I've done a transaction with this particular student athlete. I can also come down here from this message alone and propose it. So maybe a student athlete takes the initiative to put themselves out there and they send you this novel about why they want to work with you, who they are, etc. You can go right in there and be like, you know what, I love that they took the time to, reach out to me. Let me go ahead and propose a deal with them. You can do that from there also. Are there any questions on this? And then if you are curious about a particular transaction that's within a conversation, you can simply click on it. You can go in there and see all of this information regarding it. As you can see, it is still pending for my test account. But yes, you can certainly do all that from here. Also from here, you can take action. You can add this person to a list, or maybe you want to go in there and send a message. Next is going to be the transaction. So this is where all the transactions you do will live. You can come over here and bulk approve or bulk pay. So maybe you did, $5 for every single football player. Instead of having to go in and click send payment, send payment, send payment for all 100, however many is on the football team. You can come over here and do bulk pay, and it'll bulk pay all those student athletes. You can also filter it and take other action on it as well. And then over here, if you click these 3 dots, it gives you some more. So one thing I will say with payments, we have a payment integration with Stripe, and I will have Zach send over the Stripe fees for that. We do negotiate the Stripe fees all the time, and they're constantly lowering, and we will send that to you. Let's say, for example, you do not want to pay through Stripe, through Influencer. The one thing I will tell you is that you will be responsible for getting that student athlete the tax information, the tax documents needed. Payments that are done within Influencer through Stripe automatically generate a 1099 at the end of the year for that student athlete and for compliance. So if you do decide to pay outside of Influencer, just click paid outside of Influencer, and again, you will be responsible for the tax documents. Next is going to be the settings. So this is where you can come in here and you can update, your exchange page, not your exchange page, sorry, your personal profile. And then down here at the bottom where it says communication preferences, this is where you can check this, whether or not you allow student athletes to reach out to you. Personal is just personal to you, your information. Payment methods, this is where you can go in and put the payment method that you, how you want to pay student athletes, whether it's ACH or whether it's credit card. So, and then you can click this button and it'll take you to our help desk article, which lets you know what the fees are for Stripe. And again, we are always trying to lower this. We just lowered it again, and we are in the process of working a deal with Stripe to lower it again. So again, always check back on this, and we'll definitely continue to do our best to bring that down. So, and you may see a little human. I apologize. My kids are out of school. Next is going to be the notifications. This here just allows you to be notified anytime there are new messages that come in. So now I'm going to pause and I'm going to plug in my phone to quickly show you what it looks like from the student athlete perspective. Does anyone have any questions? And I see that there are some in the chat. So Zach, I don't know if you mind while I'm pulling this up, let me know what those say.
I just added in the link to Stripe overview in the chat, and I also put the registration link in the chat as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, and I am just pulling this up. Cool. And it's just doing its own little thing for a moment here. So like I said, essentially what I'm going to show you next is just the student athlete side. Again, we try to make this as easy as possible, not only for the student athlete and compliance and the staff at the, each organization or institution, but we try to make this easy for you all as well. And just having an idea of what it looks like from the student athlete perspective, just kind of shows you it's super simple, user friendly, not hard at all. And there we go. All right. It is pulling up. Cool. Here we go. Zach, can you see that, or do I need to make it a little bit larger?
That's good right there.
Okay, perfect. So y'all, this is what it looks like from the student athlete perspective. Remember when I said that content is what's going to drive them to the app? When they first log in, anything that they're actually tagged in is going to live right up here at the top. So when they log in for the first time and they see themselves in all these photos, they get super excited and they're like, oh man, like I got content for Instagram, I'm about to get all these retweets and likes. That's where that is. They do have access to the rest of the team photos that are in galleries. Right down here, if they click on Content Hub, they can see all of the galleries for their particular team. So they're not limited to just the photos that they're tagged in. I'm going to click back to the dashboard. Bulletins, remember when I was telling you like those free for all, whoever's interested can just go in there and grab, that lives right here. So if I click this see all button, it'll take me to all of the bulletins that are available to me as a student athlete. So you all can go in there. You can start, adding bulletins. Like I said, informational, maybe it's an actual product, maybe it is, money, whatever it may be. They can filter. So again, they have access to the global exchange companies right up here at the top. They can filter it. And a lot of student athletes do. They know the local businesses and they really want to work with local businesses. So a lot of them do go in here and they'll filter to just local exchange. And then from here, it'll say local exchange. It'll tell you what type of, deal it is. And if I go back to where it shows all, it's going to show over here if it's, informational or not. So some of these will say like informational or if it's actual product. Super easy. If I click into this, of course, I don't have permission for that one. That's because these are real live ones because it's the global exchange and I am not a student athlete, so I cannot go in there and benefit from those. But if they click into here, it'll show, a description of your company. If you require them to answer certain questions before they go in there and accept the offer, whatever it may be, you provide it here. Once they click accept, you'll be able to see that. If I go back out, next is going to be companies. So this is all from the home page. They'll be able to see this. Companies, if I click see all here, they will be able to see all the global and the local exchange companies. Again, you don't see global because I did not set my student athlete test account up to see the global because I don't want to accidentally apply for something that I can't get. But for the local exchange here, they'll be able to see all of the companies. And again, this is really important to the student athletes. They want to see which businesses locally want to work with them. So this is why I say, if you do have the chance to go in there and register today, definitely register because they're going to come in here and they're going to look at all these businesses and they're going to say, which one do I want to, reach out to? They'll click into there. And then down at the bottom, they have the ability to start a conversation with you all at your respective business. And then all of this right here just kind of goes a little bit more in depth with the student athlete. This blue button is just educational resources for them. How to not suck with money, how to become verified on social media, brand building, etc. Down here, the local exchange is just another way for them to see all the exchange, global and local, the opportunities where those bulletins, and then they can also see the transactions. The last thing I'll hit on, and the reason why I'm going a little fast is because this is student athlete view. Down here at the bottom for profiles, this is where we tell the student athlete to get their profile strength between 80 and 100%. So we do harp on this during our training with them. One thing you may see with student athletes, if they come to your business and they want to do some sort of a deal with you or your business, they can click on this QR code and they can take it to your business and say, hey, I'm always here on Fridays. Is there some way we could do some sort of a deal facilitation? You can scan this QR code, which is essentially going to bring you to the CARDS NIL. It's going to say, hey, Shayna Smith is inviting you to the CARDS NIL Exchange. You're like, okay, that's awesome. You click on it. It'll say register here. Once you register for the CARDS NIL Exchange, you'll then be taken to Shayna's profile so that you can do a deal with Shayna. But then you'll also now have access to the other Cardinals that are in the CARDS NIL Exchange. So if someone does come in with the QR code, it's not spam or anything like that. They're probably trying to do some sort of a deal with you. But as you can see here, super easy for the student athlete to come in here and fill it out. At the bottom, it even asks like, why should companies work with you? And so, you can read that as well. I know I just talked a lot. Are there any questions on anything that I hit? That is essentially all for me, I promise. And was that helpful or was that very overwhelming? And I'm going to turn it back over to Zach in case he has any final things. But again, I will drop my email in the chat. If you all have any questions, or if you just tried to register and you're wondering, hey, how do I, do X, Y, and Z, definitely let me know. I am available to help you all anytime. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate Shayna's thoughts of, we'll definitely put my information in the chat as well too. So if you have any ideas about NIL or things that you want to know if it's permissible or not, I work with our compliance staff on a routine basis. So don't hesitate to reach out and let's talk it through.
I think a big takeaway that I had was that, I mean, this doesn't have to be overly expensive. I mean, it's really just whatever you negotiate is what happens, right?
Yeah,
And
certainly. I think that's a topic that we talk to the athletes a lot about. There a lot of questions we get on of like, what's the student athlete's fee? And I always say like it's whatever's mutually agreed upon between you and the student athlete. Market rate is kind of based upon the individual, because what I may value a social post is different than what Shayna may value a social post, and David, what you may value a social post. It's more about what's the value of it to them, and then the athlete and the business or individual would just negotiate from there.
well, this has been great. We're right at the top of the hour. I don't see any other questions. So I really encourage everyone to reach out to you guys and kind of get involved with this. I think this is a great opportunity for business. And just to back up a little bit, you mentioned that you can, doesn't have to be a business. I mean, just an individual may want to have somebody come to their house for a birthday party or something.
And
Yeah,
that
it could
actually
be.
happens quite a bit. Yep. That happens a lot where, you know, I'll get an email from a student athlete like, hey, this person asked me to come to a birthday party. And it's like, oh, they're approved. They're in the exchange. So, you know, you can either decline or accept. One thing we do tell the student athletes, and I did not mention, and I apologize, when a student athlete opens up your proposal, you will be able to see that they've read it. And I tell student athletes all the time, if you're not interested, say no thank you and hit decline, because you may not be interested in this one particular thing that they're offering, but you never know if there's something else they're going to be offering down the line. And if you don't respond, they're going to be like, well, they didn't even have the decency to hit decline or to say, you know, thank you or whatever it may be. So we do kind of go over some of those best practices. And then like Zach said, nothing is too small. So a lot of times people are so focused on like, how much do I need to give the student athlete? Again, I'll go back to like my days. You could have given me $5 and I would have been like, oh, you want me to post you on Twitter? Psh, I got you. You know what I mean? So it's definitely just one of them things. Just have that conversation with the student athlete. You know, keep in mind how many followers. Maybe if they have like 100,000 followers and you're trying to grow your business's you know, followers on Instagram, maybe, you know, $2 extra or whatever it is you all agree on. If they have like 100 followers, maybe it may not be as much. So, you know, it's just a lot of things you have to take into consideration, and it's not anything that we can tell you, because that is all based off of what you feel you're willing to pay, and then of course what the athletes are willing to accept. So
Nice.
oh, thank you, Greg.
Yeah, that is good. So got us to reiterate a couple other things too. We have a today, or maybe later on today or tomorrow, you'll get a replay of this conversation today, and we'll also send you guys Shayna and Zach's contact information so you can get in touch with them and get started. So Zach, Shayna, thank you so much for joining us today. This was really fun and really interesting, and I learned a lot, and I think this is great for the community, the business community, and the student athletes as well. This is long overdue.
Thanks for having us, an opportunity. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks everybody for joining us for another Toolkit Tuesday, and we will see you guys next time. So enjoy your Tuesday, and thanks for joining us today. See you soon.
Thank you.